So I just wanted to share some of those like real world numbers with you today to give you a baseline of what it actually costs to do those things in accounting that you maybe didn't realize that you might want, but also that you definitely are not getting if you pay for just tax prep. Welcome to the Sunlight Tax Podcast. In this show, we're talking about taxes, money, and careers for self-employed people who have a big vision for changing the world with their work. I'm your host, Hannah Cole, artist, tax pro, author of Taxes for Humans, and the founder of Sunlight Tax. If you're a creative or wellness-oriented entrepreneur who wants to grow your business sustainably, manage your taxes, and build a stash of fuck you money so you can control your time and have a bigger impact with your work, you are in the right place. Hello, beautiful. I want to take a little break from talking about the tax laws today and talk to you about accounting. I think there's a huge misconception about what you actually get when you pay for professional accounting. And I just kind of want to give you a little bit of background about why I built the program that I built, what hole it fills. Because I think if you've never worked with an accountant before, it's really easy to not even understand how expensive it is to work with an accountant and how much you're actually getting when you pay those fees. All right. Now, to be clear, I'm pro great accounting. Absolutely. Right. And a lot of accountants, not all, but a lot of them are worth every penny and more. But I do think there's a really common mistake that people make. They think hiring an accountant is going to solve all their problems or help them do project management or stay on top of deadlines. And a lot of times you're really not getting any of those things that you expect. So today on the Sunlight Tax Podcast, I want to break down some common misconceptions about what it is like to work with an accountant, and then talk about why I built my program the way I did to fill those holes. All right. So this came up because last night I was at this event in Asheville. It was a pitching event by Venture Asheville. And someone that I know there, I'm not going to name her, you'll understand why in a second, but somebody that I know there who had the best pitch of the night, she asked me if I could recommend an accountant because she has had so many different accounting experiences in town that have been really disappointing. She was saying like, I just want somebody to be proactive. I just want somebody to even return my emails, right? And of course, that's really frustrating when you think you should be getting those things and you're just not, right? You know, she's in a company that has employees and warehouse and, you know, like lots of moving parts at this point. And so she's actually getting into the area where she should be hiring an accountant to do monthly accounting services for her, to run payroll, to do quarterly tax planning, year-end tax planning, things like that. A lot of you listening to this show, you are self-employed, you don't have a big operation like that, and you might not need to hire an accountant, certainly for monthly work. More often, your interface with an accountant is just once a year, and it is just to get your tax prep done, right? And that's fine. You know, that is very worthwhile. That's a skilled exercise that is worth paying for if you choose to value that. But I want to tell you what you do not get when you pay for a tax return. Generally, when you pay for tax preparation, you get only the tax return. That is it, right? Paying for an accountant to do tax prep for you means they're going to email you a tax document, a tax return that is finished, and they will do the filing for you. If you're lucky, that will also include a meeting where they discuss it with you, or maybe a video where they go over the key elements of the tax return. But I want you to understand that understanding what's actually in your taxes is something a lot of accountants do not believe they owe you. Now, I think they do. I think they should. This is certainly what I did when I was doing tax prep for people, but it's not an assumption, right? So I want to warn you that if you pay for professional tax prep, yes, you'll get a tax return, but that's it, right? You don't necessarily even get an explanation about what is going on. You know, a good tax preparer will kind of walk you through decision points. I think they owe you that, but not everyone does. They certainly are not really proactive and managing you around the deadlines, prepping you that there are tax deadlines coming up, especially ones that don't relate to that specific tax filing, right? When it comes to teaching you how quarterly taxes work, that is not happening. Certainly not. What is not happening is a little preview before the quarterly tax deadline comes to say, hey, just checking in. Maybe look at your numbers, look at your profit. Maybe we make an adjustment to the quarterly tax payment you make this quarter because your income is either up or down. That is definitely not happening. That is not a part of tax prep, just so that you understand. And for a lot of you listening, that is the problem. That is a thing you actually really need and you do not get, right? Another thing that you don't get when you pay for a tax return is year-end tax planning, being taught about new changes to the tax law and how that might affect your tax filing in the future year, things to look out for, things to keep in mind, right? Or just ways to save money at the end of the year by putting a little extra money into various tax-advantaged accounts, using your money this way instead of this way to save you a little more money on your taxes, right? That tax planning, that is something that you generally have to pay an accountant for a specific targeted session. In fact, year-end tax planning, and I'm here to say it's worth it, but year-end tax planning, when you do it, is actually generally very expensive. An accountant is typically going to charge you more for that than they actually charge for your tax return, right? Because they essentially have to do alternate versions of your taxes. They do your taxes year to date, and then they do some projections. There's a lot of analysis that actually comes into that. And it is actually one of the valuable things to pay for. So if you have the money and you're interested, by all means, hire an accountant to do year-end tax planning for you. It's a great service, but I'm just warning you, it does not come cheap, right? So when I say not cheap, do you want to hear some numbers? I am such a fan of putting numbers on these things. So what I did today is I just gathered together a couple different proposals from a couple different accounting firms and just things that people have sent me to check in, like, hey, is this ridiculously expensive or is this really what this costs? So I just wanted to share some of those real world numbers with you today to give you a baseline of what it actually costs to do those things in accounting that you maybe didn't realize that you might want, but also that you definitely are not getting if you pay for just tax prep. All right. So a friend of mine sent me some screenshots of a proposal from her accountant that she had hired. And here's some, these are real fees. These are from a year ago. So just FYI, these could be higher now. There's an initial setup fee to work with this accountant of $2,500. That is to set up QuickBooks Online, to do an S-Corp election. It is to get payroll set up and create the financial statements, the initial financial statements. So that is a setup fee of $2,500, and that's a one-time fee. And then the monthly fee goes up from there, right? The monthly bookkeeping fee is $150 a month, but that does not include the cost of QuickBooks, which is another $100. So that's $250 a month for just the bookkeeping. Running payroll, they're charging $125 a month. Quarterly payroll reporting filings, so it's like a necessary part of running payroll, is $150 per quarter. The tax return, they're charging $1,000. Now, tax returns can vary wildly, but $1,000 is pretty par for the course. And then tax planning in the fall from this accountant is $750. To be honest, tax planning can vary a lot. I've seen quotes that go way higher than that. And generally, if you get a really high quote for tax planning, that's an accountant who's going to actually do your taxes, do a projection, and really dig into it. It's not going to be a more cursory look at last year's tax return. Okay. So that's just to give you a baseline sense of some fees. I have another proposal from an accountant who I actually think is wonderful. This is an accountant I truly believe in and feel that they do excellent work and they're really good communicators. But just to give you a sense of what it costs when you hire an accounting firm that's really, really good and really proactive, this proposal that I'm looking at here, I'm going to keep it anonymous. It's $1,440 per month, right? That is a lot of money. That is, I haven't done the math, but that is, well over $10,000, $15,000. Yeah, that's about like $17,000 per year. I'm terrible at doing math in my head. That's a lot of money, right? And what is included in that? Well, it actually does not even include the personal tax return. It doesn't, that's an additional fee on top of this. But it includes a corporate tax return. It includes monthly bookkeeping. It includes invoicing. It does include 4 meetings a year. And those meetings where you actually get an accountant's eyes on your taxes and their analysis, to me, that is the real value of an accountant. If you're going to pay money to an accountant, the real place where your money is going far there is in planning opportunities, having them look at your tax information, your financial statements, and actually make judgments and help you make decisions, right? So we don't need to belabor those costs, but I just want to kind of prep you for the fact that to get those kind of things like quarterly tax help putting money aside into tax smart accounts, establishing savings, maybe getting the beginnings of a financial plan. These are things that just cost a lot of money. Now, for a lot of people listening, if you're listening to this now, you're probably feeling kind of frustrated, like, wait, but I'm just starting out. I just need some help with my setup. I need to set up some bookkeeping. I need to pay quarterly taxes. Yes, those things are all true. So the whole reason that I felt frustrated when I was an artist trying to do my own taxes and trying to keep my numbers organized was that when I paid for tax prep from my dad's accountant, all I got was that tax return. And what I did not get was any advising, any judgment calls, any sense of maybe you should consider doing this, right? None of that. I didn't get any help learning what an IRA is or how to use one or how it benefited me or, showing me what the math is of that benefit. And I didn't get nudges every quarter to be like, hey, quarterly tax payment time is coming up, time to pay your quarterly taxes. Let's talk about those numbers, right? So when I went back to school for accounting, a couple things. One, I learned all this stuff that I didn't realize was out there, like tax advantaged accounts, like an IRA, like an HSA, things where you can put money in to save for specific items like healthcare or retirement or education. And your money actually goes further in these accounts. These are accounts that are set up by the US government on purpose to help you save for big ticket items by creating a tax-free environment for you to make savings, right? This is a big deal that actually makes your limited dollars go further. So having a good understanding of those tax-advantaged accounts makes every dollar you earn worth more, right? And part of year-end tax planning is actually just pretty simple, honestly, strategy of just looking through all the available tax advantage accounts that you could be using and making sure that you are using them. Okay? That's all it is, right? So when I graduated from accounting school, I just felt like people need this. There are a lot of people on limited budgets who don't have $1,400 per month to spend on accounting, right? They're struggling to even pay the $1,000 to get a tax return done, right? So people need a way to access this information so that they can build up savings, so that they can set up their business correctly, so that they can track all their deductions, so that they can keep on top of quarterly taxes to avoid a massive surprise tax bill. And that, my friends, is why I built my program, Money Bootcamp. That is what Money Bootcamp is. It is a self-paced video course to teach you those things at a one-time price, right? It's lifetime access. The one-time price is similar to the amount that this accountant charges every single month for one client, right? And so I just think that that is a really valuable thing to have a place where you have a resource library that teaches you, oh, okay, here's how to do year-end tax planning. Oh, here is how to do quarterly tax payments. Here's how to set up your bookkeeping, right? Another thing that I offer inside of my program, Money Bootcamp, is every single quarter before the quarterly tax deadline, I do a live session with the group to teach how quarterly taxes work and how to make adjustments in those numbers, because you don't have to pay quarterly taxes based on just what an accountant said from last year's tax return. You can do it based on this quarter's profit. When you do that, you pay money related to how much money is actually in your bank account. You don't overpay, you don't underpay, and you avoid surprises, right? So all of those wonderful things, quarterly tax planning, setting up bookkeeping, knowing what kind of accounts you could get your dollars to go further in, these are things you don't get when you pay an accountant for a tax return. And again, I think accounting is really worth the money if you have the money and if you can. But a lot of people, especially if you're listening to this podcast, simply do not have that money. And so joining a program like mine where you pay a one-time fee and then you're in forever and you get hand-holding and teaching that sees the value of your creative work. I think this is the reason that I created Money Bootcamp. It is to fill those gaps so that you have the knowledge to save more money, to take full advantage of the tax code where it is meant to benefit you. This is stuff that is typically only available to people with a lot of income to spare. Businesses making a lot of money who can afford accounting fees like the ones that I have named. So I built Money Bootcamp to basically bring that to people in the early stages of business or in creative businesses that are not making huge amounts of money. So that's the reason behind why I built the program that I did. And it's because I am an artist. I am a creative person. I have supported creative people for 10 years of being in business as Sunlight Tax. And it really matters to me that you have this information, that you be able to get that great tax knowledge that typically only well-heeled people are able to access. So this is my way of giving to the creative community something super valuable. If you're interested, if that appeals to you, you can go right to the Money Bootcamp page and you can check it out. If you're interested, it's at sunlighttax.com/moneybootcampimpact. But also to let you know, tomorrow I'm hosting a free class to teach you some of the systems that I teach inside my program. So you're going to learn exactly the strategy that I teach inside Money Bootcamp at a high level, okay? So if you want to come to that class and learn 3 basic systems that will help keep your taxes organized every year, come to this class, learn about that. I'm also going to be teaching you how much it costs to wait 1 year, just 1 year, to start your savings plan, okay? I'm going to actually show you how much money you gain over a lifetime when you start now versus waiting a year, all right? Little hint, it's way more money than you think because of the power of compounding interest and investing. But I'm going to teach you about that. So if you're interested in that free class, it's a place to just learn some great skills, learn some great strategies that you can take home right away, whether or not you decide to join my actual program. But if you are interested in the program, it's also a way to just learn more about what's in it and to, be there live and ask me questions about it. So I hope you will join me tomorrow in that free class. It's at noon Eastern and you still have time. You have one more day to sign up for it. It's at go.sunlighttax.com/free. That's where you can register for your free seat in that class. You'll get some reminders and a link to join. So that's go.sunlighttax.com/free. I hope that has helped to just clarify what you do and don't get with accounting and why I built the program I did, why I feel so passionately about it. I hope to see you in the free class tomorrow. And yeah, I'm excited to see your face there. All right, see you tomorrow. Bye. Thank you for listening. If you like the show, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. It really helps. I'm so grateful. My tax guide, Taxes for Humans, is available for pre-order at sunlighttax.com/book. This podcast is for education and entertainment only. Nothing in this episode should be taken as individual tax or financial advice. You can find all the tools, books, and links I reference at sunlighttax.com/podcast.